No, here's the crazy part. The single worst event in the past 200 years was the flood of...
What about COVID? I mean, COVID was kind of a problem.
We all know it's coming. It's going to happen in the next 20 years, probably the next 10.
Like literally gone?
There are chaos Muppets and order Muppets. And when a chaos Muppet meets an order Muppet, something magical happens sometimes. Oh, piece of blue.
Look at that.
That was pretty good.
Wow.
I want to get into something really controversial. I think you might be the right person to answer this question, especially with your history and everything that you've done.
I like to say I have a very, very weird resume. Probably only one of 5 people in the world that can understand what a Taylor order expansion does on a gradient boosting model for machine learning and is sold like a renter's policy to a grandma. I can't do anything else with my life, so I better like it.
Where do you see the captive model going, and how quickly do you see it going there?
There is a couple of things you can always do that'll pretty much guarantee success. All right, start off with the craziest story. Well, it was when I was one of the crazy stories, but I was 26 years old, wearing a suit in the middle of Tucson, Arizona. I had just become commercial field sales leader for a giant corporate insurance company that has great hands, and happened to meet a guy named Craig Pretzinger, who was an incredible person. Went golfing with him, and over the course of the day, you should never golf in like an Oxford or button-up shirt and pants. I was dying in Tucson, and I came from California, so I looked like an idiot. But I still remember this day. There was a shot that Craig took where he whipped the ball almost completely, skidded over the top on a par 3. It proceeded to hit the water hazard, bounce on the water hazard, and roll within probably about 6 inches of the cup, close to a hole in one. And so, that's
how I play that hole.
Great relationship I knew you from. Andrew Engler. I'm an insurance dude.
Boom!
Oh, baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't believe that you're on this, and I didn't see your name come across. Just busy over here in lovely San Diego.
Okay,
and,
but let's preface that you actually chose the name.
Which name? Oh, I did. Yeah. Well,
You did it subconsciously. We could feel our vibe. We missed each other. Yeah, such a small industry, but it blew me away. It's great to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, good to have you on the Insurance Dudes. This is gonna be fun.
It's been a while, huh?
Yes.
How long?
I mean, that was when I was drinking, so that's pre-2015.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it would have been. I graduated college in 2010, and I started, running the agency in California, and then got hired probably 3 years into that on Allstate Corporate. So, don't say that. Now I'm feeling actually really old, but yeah, it was a few moons ago. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, the kids accelerate the situation. I'm sure everybody listening. I'm sure the 3 people listening will can agree if they have the kids. So, Andrew, why don't you take us back to your backstory, how you got into insurance, and then we'll sprinkle in some fun times from the good old days.
Dude, I love it. And you guys virtually kick me if I start going on tangents or in different directions. But look, I was a closet hacker as a kid and like breaking and fixing computers and making video games. Hated school, hated college, and coming right out of it, I thought, all right, maybe I'll do some work somewhere, go to law school eventually or something. And of course, like everyone, I had an uncle who worked in insurance. How you ever find your way in insurance? And I started this little Allstate agency in California. It was a $2.5 million agency, and from the second I started at that place, I had 2 thoughts. One, holy shit, I love this. And 2, oh my God, this is the most broken system I've ever seen, which presents challenge and extreme opportunities. So proceeded to take that agency, grow it from $2.5 million with my partner there to about $25 million in a couple of years, which of course sent the red flags up at corporate. They came down, shut us down, and were like, you have to be doing something illegal. You guys need to stop immediately. Came and audited us, and they went, oh my God, this is brilliant. Like, well, do you want to come to Northbrook and work for corporate and take over the commercial region for Arizona and the Southwest? And so I was young and nuts and said, hell yeah, let's go. But yeah, then I took over, commercial field sales leader, grew that. I met a ton of incredible people, including this one across me right now. Tons of agents out there, got to learn, helped refit their quoting system. But also, just met these great leaders there, guys like Dennis Bailey, Jim Turner, and Grant Wood, and got to really hit outside my comfort zone. And they put a lot of trust in me being a young kid and in a position God knows I shouldn't have been in. But yeah, did well in that, and then got asked to join Argo Group as their head of digital. Built that from 0 to 120 million in revenue over a 5-year period, and then got even crazier and went, I'll start my own reinsurance company in 2020. Ended up becoming an insurance MGA, but it's now the largest wildfire parametric, or one of the largest wildfire parametric insurers on the West Coast, and started bought a couple other businesses and stuff like that in between. But yeah, then about a year ago, as you can tell, I kind of have an addiction to creating new pro-entropic business models, as I call them, things that get wildly more valuable as things get more volatile. But I just kept seeing in the market, I hadn't been a broker for 20 years now, guys. And I kept looking and just going, how in God's name is no one figured out how to give people discounts for doing mitigation? It would fix this entire system for wildfire, for severe convective storm and all that. And so after enough sleepless nights of going, this makes all the sense in the world, why no one's doing it, I had the insane idea of like, all right, let's jump back on, start all over again. So yeah, here I am.
Starting over?
Well, sort of. Yeah, I still get to be a part of the other companies that are growing and doing great, but there's nothing like, God, starting a company again from like ground up and getting to be like fresh in it. I don't know. There's no rush. There's no drug. There's nothing like it on earth, like creating, gold from nothing.
The beginning is fun, or you're just molding the putty.
It is. And like, look, I think it's indicative. This will ring true to someone. I had an investor once tell me, he's like, there's 2 people in the world. I was like, what's your investment strategy? Chris Sacca, actually. So probably one of the greatest investors of all time. And I'm like, tell me what your investment strategy is, why you're so successful. And he said, it's very complex. Here it is. There's only 2 people in the world. There are chaos Muppets and order Muppets. And when a chaos Muppet meets an order Muppet, something magical happens sometimes. Oh, piece of blue.
Look at that.
That was pretty good.
Wow. Speaking of magic.
But yeah, so I'm a chaos Muppet. And so like I love the feeling of like just pure chaos. You don't know what's going to happen the next day. You got 1,000 things to do. Like, yeah, I live for it.
Love it.
We love it and complain about it.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit of drama comes along. Yeah.
No, come on, man. You can't. If you could look around the rest of this place, you go, Jesus, man. Like you have a problem. Like I'm on the high side of the spectrum. I'm guessing you are too.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I think that's what makes a great entrepreneur is somebody who can just hyper focus, and they love the chaos. You know.
It is. I commonly tell people whenever I'm about to hire someone new, I do kind of something similar. Look, like I've kind of only found like 2 people that end up in this, and it's like the war movies where, bullets start flying and shells start going off, and there's one guy in the trench like cradling himself, rocking back and forth and crying, and then there's another guy standing on the parapet like building sandcastles with bullets flying around him, like whistling. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it tends to be that true, and I think if you love that kind of unknown and chaos, you start to understand that like the world is driven by chaos theory and a lot of complexity theory, and you start to learn you actually can control outcomes if you're able to deal with a lot of really bad shit that can happen.
Dude, it's interesting because I think that from a very young age, people are groomed to be the rank and file, right? So to be the, all I heard was the chaos. What was the other one? The lame one?
Order Muppet.
The order Muppets. So, the 90% or the 99% are the order Muppets because they listened, right? Like, I love my wife, and she's on a hike in freaking Switzerland or something right now. But it's like for the most part, she follows the order. She believes in all the rules, and she thinks the rules are there because blah, 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 right? Like she buys into the matrix, that's nice. You know, and I don't. And I think that's probably why we like each other because, you know, sometimes is because of this, you know, that the dynamic there.
For sure.
But then, like those of us who were forced into that role when it didn't fit because our braids operated differently, a little quicker or more scattered or whatever it is, you know, whatever you want to call it. Like we get out of it, and we're like, wait a minute, we don't have to do all that, right? We can do what we want, you know. And then all of a sudden, it's like boom, you know, or you go crazy.
It is, and like, look, you know, I think Chris's point was saying. Look, they're both Muppets. Like, and the thing I've learned, like, in you know, making an ungodly amount of mistakes and building business divisions and creating companies, you have to find an order Muppet who can put up with your chaos Muppet, because otherwise, like, if Craig, if you and I tried to start a business, like, God knows, we'd be playing with Legos, we'd be doing 1,000 different like new ideas, and so the magic happens. And you know, my current one, Ryan Valdez, like. 20 years claims experience, like at a big company, and like, yeah, you kind of connect and mesh. But yeah, takes all types, man.
That's awesome. I would love to get into how did you figure out this how to predict wildfires with a 96% accuracy?
Boom.
Yeah. So I failed most of my math classes, and I don't have PhD. What I did learn over time, and this should be encouragement to anyone else who like failed calculus, mathematics and arithmetic are two extremely different things. And I've become obsessed with mathematics and obviously have to be on the technological side. And but yeah, it all started with we had been building machine learning models at Argo, doing reinsurance on mortgage derivatives on asset-backed securities. So we were basically backstopping Freddie and Fannie at the time, and we built a machine learning model that was able to predict default rates in major markets and give us a good clue on what the overall default rate for Freddie and Fannie would look like, and then write a reinsurance. Very simple policy too. Like if more than 50 basis points of the mortgages in the country defaulted, like we were going to lose $100 million, or if it didn't, we'd make 10 million. So, but kind of use that same premise, which is looking at wildfires, understanding like, okay, this is a rare event. There's 50,000 wildfires every single year on the West Coast. 3 of them become Camp Kincaid or Palisades. And I at the time been involved a bit with like Santa Fe Institute, looking at like chaos theory, and understood if you look at these events, they're compounding events. So you can have a smoker who lights a cigarette on a gasoline-filled brush, and it'll burn. And if there's nothing around it, it won't burn. And to get one of those Camp or Kincaid or you know, big events, you have to have hundreds of millions of small little factors go wrong in a perfect alignment to have this cascading effect, which becomes like a large-scale catastrophe. And
Isn't it based off of some, like the origins of this thing, like from this like Russian scientist, like Markowitz or something? I just saw a freaking YouTube video. I just saw a YouTube video that was all about this, and it was like they thought that it was, oh, there's only certain predictors. You can't predict everything because of all those millions of different variables, but actually you can. Right?
Which is what you're saying. So what I became very good at is not predicting weather. You can't predict weather, no matter how we try. You can predict when there's a lot of factors that have lined up and something could go very wrong, and understand like those elements have compounded. So yeah, to your point, there's Markov simulations and actually the main one who really built this, it's called self-organizing criticality. There's a guy named Per Bach who worked at the Santa Fe Institute. Brilliant. Dead now, but he came up with this theory that all complex systems, so you know, economies, biology, mortgage systems, wildfires, these systems, they layer redundancies, small little redundancies on top of each other. So you don't have a fire, you know, break out every single day. You don't have your power fail every single day. You don't lose your cell signal every single day. The problem is when you start layering on thousands of redundancies on top of one another, you create these fault lines where if a million little things go wrong, the actual entire system will collapse in on itself, and it catastrophically, because you've thought
like
you
mortgage.
created a billion redundancies against it. And his point was actually most complex systems have to reset to that point. That's why we kind of see. And there's a ton of other stuff. I'll send you guys the book. Name of the book is How Nature Works. What was his main piece? But it is a phenomenal one. He goes into how they predicted time scale variance of tsunamis, earthquakes, all this stuff. It's cool.
That's crazy. So were you like, did your company predict the Palisades and all that stuff? Or were able to know that like, hey, something bad's going to happen? I mean, it's been happening, right?
I mean, haven't they said it that there's going to be a big fire or whatever in California forever?
So here's like there's going to be another huge one, probably this year or next. And there's
that's wonderful.
17 spots I could point out
San
on
Diego.
tomorrow and go. Now here's the wild part. In like the new company, one of the easiest strategies we've had of, you want to know how to predict like where the next wildfire is going to happen, the next Palisade, go spend 6 months, get on a plane, visit every single local fire chief, sit down and have beers with them, become friends, and go point out the hill that you think, where are you not going to be able to send your guys? They'll blatantly tell you. And all the politicians, regulators, the people who live here, they'll all go like, oh yeah, like they're always named like Burnt House Road, which you go, okay, that's your first indicator. But yeah, they'll say very plainly, like if nothing's done there, that becomes a suicide box. And the only thing we're going to be able to do is tell everyone to run and escape. And actually, like, not even just wildfire. If you guys get a chance, you should watch the new documentary on Katrina on Netflix.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
Incredible, right? And so like everyone forgets there was a hurricane in the 1950s that they literally, same exact thing happened. Ninth Ward like flooded, like everything the same. And so I think our problem as humans is, one, we have huge cognitive biases, and one of them is positivity bias and recency bias, where we go, oh, it's the most recent thing that'll happen. But I'll give you guys a fun question. It's good proof of recency bias. What in the past 200 years, what do you think the single worst catastrophic event in California history has been? Caused the most damage, destruction, death?
San Francisco fire.
It's a good one.
The old, what was that, the 20s or something?
Yeah. Jason?
What about the one of those earthquakes, the
Whittier in the 90s?
That was Northridge, and I was a young
Northridge
during that. Remember it wasn't either of those. So
I was at high school.
Was it the Palisades fire?
That's now the second.
That's recency.
Okay.
That's now the second biggest. And you'd go, okay, wildfire's gonna be the next one. No, here's the crazy part. The single worst event in the past 200 years was the flood.
Newsom getting elected.
Yeah, nailed it.
Oh man, all
COVID.
Right. I'm stealing that joke for the next one.
What about COVID? I mean, COVID was kind of a problem.
But in terms of like destruction, death, it was actually the flood of 1862.
Good old 1862.
So right, like I had never heard of it before, like getting into stuff.
I've never heard of it.
I mean, 1862 is old news.
You'd think. So this flood was so bad, it destroyed 1/3 of all taxable land in California, killed tens of thousands of people, and it was so intense that the mayor at the time, Leland Stanford, the guy they named the university after, he had to go to his inauguration in a rowboat. And like, look it up. You can see like pictures of him doing his inauguration speech in a rowboat because San Francisco was under 4 feet of water. But it goes to show you like, this is how most of the world works today, and how most people think, which is like, what happened a week ago? And we forget, one, the Earth's been around for a few billion years. There's a very big sample set in terms of like events and frequency and severity. And yeah, like we think 1862 was a long time ago. That's probably a 1 in 100 year flood that we're wildly overdue for. And everyone's going to go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. We're all surprised when we shouldn't be.
So do these catastrophic things like occur about every 100 years? It's like the Spanish flu was 100 years, right? And then it's just interesting.
It depends on the event.
That's a good number.
There is what they call scale invariance where like basically you can kind of look and see like how big will it be every 1 years, every 10 years, every 100 years, and there's like it's a non-linear curve, but it's a curve that you can track. It happens more now. Obviously, we've seen a significant increase in the frequency and severity of these smaller, you call them smaller events, but severe convective storm, these wildfires. So they weren't Katrinas. They didn't cause $120 billion worth of damage until now. But they caused 20 billion, they'd caused 15. They started these but those are big events compared to like, it used to just be quiet for 6 years and then you get a big event and then 9 years and then big event.
So,
Gosh.
what about the San Andreas fault?
That's coming.
I know it's coming.
Yeah, but I think earthquake's more mitigated against relative to the others.
Yeah.
Where are you living?
What
state are you in?
Spend part of the year in upstate New York and Rochester and part of the year in Bermuda. So two very different places, yeah.
Bermuda.
So, and you used to live in California, right?
Yeah, I'm born and raised there for 25 years. So they dragged me out to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about living here? Like knowing the risk and everything in California, what would you advise friends and loved ones?
Well, I mean, look, it's why I created the company. It's the most insane situation I think we could ever imagine. Everyone's still sitting around while a house is on fire, pointing, going like, "Who started it?" When all we need to do is put out the fire. And that's, I think, the thing. Like, what really like kicked me in the ass. And it's funny. Everyone's at fault. No one's at fault. Every government official's at fault, and at the same time, every homeowner's at fault, and at the same time, every insurance company and every insured. Like everyone's at fault for the situation we're in.
We're all working real hard to screw it up.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we used to have, I use the example to our carriers we work with of like, guys, like, what do you think the price for terrorism would be after 9/11 if the response afterwards had been, oh shit, that was really bad. Okay, back to normal. No, they went like, okay, we're going to spend $100 billion reinventing air infrastructure and creating TSA. And we just have somehow like kind of lost that factor. And so, lo and behold, who would have ever guessed that insurance actually could play probably one of the most important pieces of that, of going, okay, we have got to do significant fuel reduction to decrease it, do significant hardening on all properties that are WUI exposed. And we've got to find billions of dollars to do it. And just magically, like, who ends up losing the most money when these events happen? Insurance companies. And so, yeah, that's why this, I think, yeah, every time I tell the idea to someone or bring up the company, I mean, we're blessed. It's been growing like a rocket ship. But every single time I bring up something, they're like, yeah, it's no duh. Like, of course you should get a discount on your insurance for doing mitigation. And that's how, like, everyone wins in that scenario. If I go to an HOA was paying $250,000, 3 years ago. Now they pay 1.2 million. I can talk to the carrier, and the carrier goes like, we raised it to 1.2 million because we have no idea how to price for the wildfire or anything else there. And we put together a 40 to 50 page risk report, do a full site assessment, and look at it and go, look, if we took $400,000 off the premium here, brought it down to 800,000, let's call it, and we took $250,000, $300,000 that premium, work with our partners at BurnBot to do a massive fuel reduction project with some semi-autonomous robots and put new siding, closed easements, closed underdecking and stuff like that. We can lower the risk 40%. Everyone wins. Like, insurance company, you're going to start making a lot more money. Person's insanely happy because we're going to start bringing their premium down significantly. And we actually can start to rebuild the infrastructure that's been failing here.
That's so awesome, dude. I love it.
Actually, making things happen.
Yeah. So in that case, who pays for this?
So it is literally that simple in it, where we have about 15 carriers we work with now, or it keeps increasing. Average discount right now to date, and we got licensed and opened in April. Average discount's about 35% and did $2.5 million of premium last month. And the way it works is literally just like I told you. We go to an HOA. That HOA has had a 1,000x increase, or we go to a winery and they've had a 800% increase. We talk to our carriers or their current carrier. We go, look, have a very strong track record in writing wildfire and understanding it, how it works. There is a significant way to reduce this risk. if we take that money out of the premium and use it to do mitigation, everyone wins. And so like it's literally, it's money that's just going to a balance sheet, and that balance sheet's just sending it into a giant like flaming pit when a loss happens. And so we're just I like to say that's our market share, is the $230 billion we just lit on fire, in January.
Love it.
That's cool. Yeah, because they're safer. I mean, everybody's safer. You're getting a percentage of what they would be just paying the premiums anyways. So it's like really is a win-win.
It is.
It's not 100% the cash either. It's like actually helping and saving people and their property.
It is. And like, look, it's the single most important trait I'd view is like human civilization is like our ability to adapt. And we've kind of just like lost that after a while. And it happens to all civilizations as they get more complex and big and intricacies on how things are executed. But, the original like kind of vision here was SpaceX, crazy enough. But if you look at like what happened with SpaceX, you had NASA, one of the greatest parts of our government, that started to like atrophy and become over bloated with like the amount of bureaucracy and work and complexity. You had a private industry step in and go, okay, we want to try and do this better and be incentivized towards it. And they don't replace the government entity. What they end up doing is becoming like the best partner on earth to it and actually advancing it far faster than it was. And that is exactly, again, what the hell do I know? But that is kind of my big theory on the earth. If you look around, I always have entrepreneurs going like, oh, what startup should I do? Should I do an AI startup? Should I do, the next chatbot? And it's like, no, like, go look out your window right now. Like, go look at the road. The roads that you're driving on are using the same pavement for the past 50 years. No one's looked at any machine learning model on how to like increase durability or I don't know what they have of like, asphalt and like look at power lines, like stuff like that. All of our infrastructure right now, we've just kind of taken for granted because we built a lot in a very short amount of time and we're very proud of what we built. But it's all very fragile when you look at like the giant spectrum of what can happen on the earth and how dangerous nature can be. And so there's just a wealth of value to like bring out there if you're kind of looking at the world in a very realistic manner, that everything's breakable, everything fails, entropy is infinite. And so where can I like kind of focus in that? And I think insurance, I'm not just doing that because I've spent my whole life in it and we're on the best insurance podcast in the world, but
yeah, buddy,
in the world,
it happens to be. But yeah,
technically in the world.
Yeah, we can. It is one of the most important pieces that we can use to actually probably fix this entire infrastructure, because I don't think anyone else is.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's like what's hiding in plain sight, right? Yeah. Because we do take so much for granted.
And it gets easier and easier.
Yeah. My house shows that. It's a good example.
And like maybe I'm just like slightly autistic, but it's always the way my brain's worked. And like when we grew the original like agency so quickly, and they thought it was illegal, and came down and looked at it, like they were blown away at how simple it is. I still use the same strategy as today. The way we did it, and the why I ended up becoming like a commercial field sales leader, is because I looked through our entire product book and went, all right, what's our most profitable, line of business? What are we able to sell the hell out of that people love? Like, oh, inland marine and BOPs to plumbers. And so, your natural thing would be like, all right, I'll go buy leads, or, I'll go join an association. And like, you're in the same vocal lane as everyone else. You're just part of the noise. My thing was like, I'm just going to start taking plumbers to lunch. And, luckily I had a dad who did quite a bit of HVAC and plumbing for a while. And yeah, just kept talking to these guys and going like, damn, if I just go to a plumbing supply house, like I could meet 500 plumbers a day. And so started just literally knocking on every plumbing supply house door, Hajoka, Ferguson. And guys, like, what can I do to sit out here and ask people for quotes? And they said nothing, like, get out. Then I got a little smarter and went like, you guys like free food? And so we ended up buying a couple Santa Maria smokers, and God, if we didn't turn into, we were literally the top writer of commercial in the state, if not like the nation, within like a few months, literally handing out free barbecue at like 7 a.m. These guys are monsters. But free barbecue for a quote. And I've always kind of used that asymmetry of like, everyone's always, there's so much gold in plain sight that like we tend to like go past because like we're looking for the shiniest part, when instead we should be looking at the thing that like if we went, my God, if that got taken away from me today, like I would like, I own an HVAC like startup, because think of that, like how much do we take for granted that I can sit in this room right now and it's 80 degrees outside and it's
Right.
sunny in here and I'm okay. You sit in one room that's 90 degrees for 5 minutes, you'll go insane. And like,
I just had that happen to
Dude.
my family. We just replaced our entire thing. Had the same thing happen. It was
This
like,
just happened to me yesterday.
Really?
Here, the AC went out, and it's been cold, so it was like no big deal. Like the last 3 days in San Diego has been gray, raining, cold, and then yesterday, when the AC went out, it was 85. So this room, like I was in here like doing stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, like I feel dizzy, and I like open the door and I go out there. That room was hot, but it was cool. When I went in the other room, you can't see him in the thing, but yeah, wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I went on vacation, came back, and our AC went out, our furnace went out, and dude, every part of our furnace was like on the fritz. So like, even though the furnace went out, it was like the AC needed to be replaced, the ducting was all torn out and all this stuff. So we're like, dude, we got to replace this. But it was like 85, 90 degrees, right? So the day, like right when it went out, I was like, all right, we got to get somebody out here. It was going to take at least a week. First, I got quoted multiple weeks, and I was like, dude, that can't happen. My wife has something called aquagenitoritis, which is like a autoimmune disease that like liquid actually, like humidity, because it's humid out here.
Yeah.
The humidity like feels like it's burning her skin.
Oh my God.
So we were at home. I put like a AC unit in there, fans, nothing's working. We had to get the RV, put the RV down by the beach, and I had to do this big rush thing to get everything. But like got back from vacation, needed to work on the business, and this happened. It was like all hands on deck because we just can't live like this. We have 4 kids, so it's like moving all the unit down there to like, and we homeschool too. So it was madness for 2 weeks because, to your point, something that we take for granted, like I should have just replaced the system prior.
No. Here's the wild part. Like, well, how that company started, and I can't take any of the credit. I helped co-found it. Now I sit on the board. My buddy Charlie runs it, but he came to me one day. He was a property manager, and he said, hey, I'm losing multiple deals a week because tenants and landlords are fighting against each other over these HVACs. And same thing's happening. HVAC goes out. They go, if I don't get it fixed tomorrow, like my hair salon's dead. Like, and so, so we just started like, and I told him, look, I write wildfire insurance. Like I don't write HVAC insurance. I'll help you go find, some insurer out there who does it. And looked everywhere and went like, you can find like sudden and accidental, but there's almost no company doing warranties or guarantees on HVAC, at least for commercial. Yeah. And it was something as like simple as that. Now, the crazy part is you're not going to like, as we dug into it, I guess it's just like curiosity. I can't stop myself. And same with like kind of most entrepreneurs, you just like, you got to keep digging into the problem.
Got to know.
I'm realizing like the whole system's broken. Like PE firms have basically taken up every single HVAC company, turned it into a commission-based model. So I hate to tell you, your system that was like completely on the fritz and like destroyed might have just needed a $50 compressor replaced. But the difference was that HVAC technician who came out, if they replaced your compressor, they would make like $200. If they replaced your system, I'm guessing they charge you like $8,000 and they made $6,000 off of it. And so, yeah, looking at these systems and understanding like the basics of it, like the incentive system, like the actual distribution system, it has ended up in an incredible business that Charlie's been killing it on. But yeah, it's everywhere. Like
here's the crazy thing is that we could have replaced a part, which that's what we were going to do to get us by until after the summertime. They replaced the part, but then it didn't support it, so we could have just replaced the furnace. But because the pain was so deep at that point, I said, if I'm going to replace the furnace, I'm going to do it all together. Why the hell would I not? Because of the pain, you know what I mean? So like that's why I think that's such a good model, is because 14 grand later, I have a whole new rebuilt system because I don't want to deal with this shit anymore.
They make you sit in the pain, then a little bit longer, and then they go, well, you only could do this one, but.
Well, actually, look, it's a good metaphor for it of like, well, why haven't we like changed our, like, we know there's going to be a huge hurricane that just blows Miami off the map. And like, we all know it's coming. It's going to happen in the next 20 years, probably the next like 10.
Like literally gone. Like,
but there's no pain. Like there's not enough pain for us to go like, we should build a seawall like they did in Galveston in 1906. Like pain seems to be the only thing that drives us significantly enough, for better or worse.
Well, if you have salespeople, you know exactly that's exactly.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
So that's interesting. The guy came. I was like looking at all the stuff. I'm a little bit handy. The little water reservoir thing. I'm like, okay, that's not full. Let me go check the breaker. Okay, the breaker's not tripped. Now it's a little bit past my wheelhouse. But the guy comes and looks at it, and apparently it's a motherboard to something. I'm like, I didn't even know it has that, right? But the lady's like, oh, do you know what was it anything big? And I go, well, he said the motherboard, and that, I'm glad that I'm not involved in any of this. So
you got to trust it.
It's the motherboard. It's got to be expensive.
So good. All right, I want to get into something really controversial. I think you might be the right person to answer this question, especially with your history and everything that you've done. So here's the deal. You used to be an agent, captive agency. You grew a captive agency. You saw the model wasn't for you and decided to do some other things. The model's changed quite a bit, and we're in a time where commissions are getting. This is what I see. Commissions have gotten smaller. Agencies that thrive were like the $2 million agencies, then was the 4 million, then the 8. Now it's like 20, 30, 40 million. So they're consolidating and growing these bigger agencies and kind of getting rid of the smaller agencies. Where do you see the captive model going, and how quickly do you see it going there?
Oh God, that is a great question.
Whoa.
I mean, so
it just did a thumbs down above your head.
Did it really?
Yeah, I did one of the.
God, if that is to avoid this, I might get like shot or something.
Yeah, that was like AI telling you.
The first part is like I actually like it wasn't I didn't like the model, and like what made me do what I did, like change jobs, and I mean besides promotion. Money.
Well, I mean, you got to move to Tucson.
What? Good point.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
From Manhattan Beach, so yeah.
Right. I mean, perfect.
Lateral move. I still love it.
It is the naked Pueblo.
It was this obsession with like, how do you fix this problem? So the thing I couldn't stand as a captive agent was like, here's the price of the product, and like, just go sell it. And if you had a good price that year, you're going to beat everyone. And if you didn't, you were SOL. Like, and I kept looking, going like, how the hell does this get priced? I could listen to 1,000 agents. I could use my own intuition to know, yeah, that landlord policy is wildly underpriced, and that system's being used wrong. If you put the pipes are 1978 copper, it drops at 20%. And so I just started going like, well, I'm going to go back in the chain. I'm going to start working at like corporate to understand that. And when I went to corporate, like they went, okay, it's E&S. And like, okay, I went to E&S. When I worked at E&S, they went like, it's actually all driven by reinsurance. So I went out to Bermuda and like, so like it worked at a reinsurer. And so here's the crazy shit is having, I like to say I have a very, very weird resume. It's probably only 1 of 5 people in the world that can understand what a Taylor order expansion does on a gradient boosting model for machine learning and has sold like a renter's policy to a grandma. The stipulation is I can't do anything else with my life, so I better like it. But I've ended up at the beginning of this circle again, because to your point, that's actually where all the issues and problems start in like data collection and capture. And so I think there's always a future for agents in general and likely the captive side. What I don't think there's a future of is one, acceptance of inefficiency and then piling that amount of overhead into the cost of product. our industry is probably one of the only on earth where the product started making less money and got more complex, and so we added more people into the distribution. We started
Yeah.
MGAs and MGUs and all this stuff. And like having started one, like start looking at it, you're like, Jesus, there's like 9 more people involved than there was like 10 years ago. That's why it costs a lot more. I also
It's like the county
yeah,
with a hole out there, right? 9 guys standing around and 1 guy digging.
dude, it's exactly what it becomes. And so ironically, I think now there's probably not a better time to be a captive agent as long as you have access to like other markets. But I also think if you're just trying to sell down the middle stuff and you haven't figured out a way to completely optimize what ends up being 80%, and I would say there's a lot of things that are still the same. Like having started this and I came back and went like, my God, ACORD forms SOVs, filling this out, transacting back and forth with carriers, like our alpha in this business.
Stuff.
What?
Yeah, why get rid of ACORD forms? It's so much fun.
That's the best. I love those.
You would think, well, back to our conversation, boys, like pain. Like it's the most painful thing that's ever existed. And, you know, very little has been done
It doesn't
about
even
it.
have a form. It's like you got to make your own PDF every time. It's like,
And now, like, look, we're talking about a future where, like, I can literally create a movie out of, like, generated
right.
images. And so,
1 sentence.
yeah. So, like, when we started this company, that was like, people were like, oh, you're going to, like, you know, try and predict wildfires. Like, no, like, we're going to spend 99% of our time figuring out how to take the 80% that we spend going back and forth with the carrier doing discussions and actually, like, automate that layering, structuring a product, you know, iterating on endorsements and all this type of stuff, and still keep like the 10% up front. That's the most wildly important, which is like interacting with a human being and explaining to them why their premium went up 800% or how you could potentially protect them from not dying or, you know, protect their house. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be in it if I didn't see an insane amount of value to be created right now. Sorry, probably not a great question answer on the captive side, but.
So anybody that's worried heard it from the horse's mouth that the risk is pretty low.
Have you run a model on this?
On like starting to automate like the form?
Like the lifetime of the agency force, like of agents.
It's so this is like the insane part. We have never reached a point of like, there's guys hanging on who are like in the hospital making calls, like, or, you know, signing up at the funeral home. There's such a lack of people coming into the market, which creates even more opportunity. There's so much acquisition going on that the quality is like kind of decreased. And so, one, I don't think like, this is my opinion, I don't think you can just be the generalist, like, or that's not my skill set of like, yeah, I can just sell home and auto and like crush it away at that and just do it all day long. Now, there's a billion places in the market right now, casualty, D&O, cyber, everything you can imagine, AI, like insuring that stuff, where you look at it and go, there's no one, the older generation are not stepping in. They still have a mass amount of premium on the books, property in that or liability. And there's like massive differentiators here that if you went deep on, if you got very, very strategic about how you automate and make an efficient system, you could make more money than ever at this point now, especially at the multiples. These things trading at, 13, 15x EBITDA multiples. It's like, this is the greatest industry to be in.
I mean, you could eliminate a lot of the like, you could create a carrier that eliminates a bulk of all the decision makers that in the chain, right? You don't need the underwriter because that can be predicted. You don't need claims can all be automated. Like, it seems like you could take a lot of the pieces out of the equation and make it much more affordable to the general public and profitable for the carrier.
I think so. I think I am pessimistic to a pretty good degree on like the current state of AI. I think there's a lot of overpromise. There's a great book out there called Empire of AI I just read last week that did a phenomenal amount of research on how much we're promising AGI and all this. I also think at the same time, like, there are industries like insurance, like telephone repair. I'm looking at a tree trimming business, arborism, that you go, this thing hasn't changed in 100 years. You take a little bit of automation, a little bit of intelligence towards that, like, there is huge asymmetries you could pull out of it. And so I kind of look at it in in a positive light too, of like, you look at California right now. I mean, you're there, Craig. Like, about 80% of the people we talk to are underinsured or uninsured now at this point, and it's like, oh my God, this is the fifth largest economy in the world, and we're seeing this happen. Like, damn, is something gone wrong here? And great opportunity to fix it and like figure out a new way of creating the system.
I mean, I don't know if you know, but the like agencies like Jason couldn't even write business for a year.
So what were your like main lines that you were writing?
Nothing.
Dude, for the carrier that I'm with,
Yeah.
you know who it is. The only line that they have in California that goes away the least is auto. I mean, that's it. They've gotten rid of all the other stuff. So you can broker some of it, but then they like switch companies and all that stuff. So the opportunities out here are very different for that specific captive, at least right now.
Yeah. Now here's the wild part though, that I think that most of the common, citizen don't realize. And I've talked, I personally know a board member at probably one of the places you're saying, I've talked to multiple of the CEOs of the top 5 like main carriers. They all want to write in the state. They don't want to exit California. They don't want to exit Florida and Texas. Like they're not. The problem is the system has become overbearing on it. And so actually, having done like a lot of the research on it, whenever I talk to these guys, most of them are actually not that scared of their own exposure and risk and being able to understand it. You can understand what a wildfire risk is by like visiting a property and understanding like a few of the factors on it. The issue is like from the reinsurance side, you have the California Fair Plan. The California Fair Plan has a little addendum in the back that has an assessment clause. And that assessment clause says, hey guys, if we blow through all our reinsurance layers and our reserves, we're going to assess you relative to your market share. So now I'm a big insurance carrier. I have a 17% market share. If I sit there and say no to 100 risks and they all go to Fair Plan, I've just essentially written those 100 risks, 17% of it, because it all went to Fair Plan and now I own that portion of it. It gets even scarier now if the guy next to me at the table goes, I'm going to start exiting the state faster than you because guess what? My market share goes up. So my bill of things I never wanted to write at a price I never thought it should be written at is increasing. And it's creating right now like this insane rush to the exit. And I think, again, there's the irony of it. It's not the regulator's fault. Fair Plan itself constantly says like we've got to be able to charge more, price more. It comes down to like there's this core thing that we all look at, which is like there's a huge bill to pay, which is like if we don't figure out how to mitigate this risk, there's actually going to become a point where like we can't charge enough premium or people like literally cannot pay it. And it's going to be uninsurable, period. And so normally kind of see the government or like some sort of like entity step in, and for lack of for some reason, like we've just gotten to that point where it's so difficult to do 10,000 acre wildfire burns and pass a new law that says, yeah, we're going to use like there's a company RSG 3D spray on concrete onto a wall that allows it to be flame retardant. It's wild, but again, it's all opportunity if looked at correctly.
Yeah, I with everything I did say, like I think the opportunity, at least from my eyes, is the independent model, just because, I mean, your fiduciary responsibility moves from being a fiduciary for the company to a fiduciary for your actual clients, which you can't do in a captive model because you have to hawk what they have regardless of how of the other competitors in the market, right?
Yeah, and I think
and the company's fiduciary responsibilities to the shareholder, not to the
100%,
not to the agent who's driving the revenue
or the customers.
It is, but at the end of the day, there's a field sales leader who's got to make a growth number that they're not able to do, and experiencing the same thing, and like might think you're on the different side of the table on it, and actually the truth is like both the same. Like the recommendation I'd give. Now, look, I took it a little overboard, which is like you have to be so unrealistic about the world, especially just as like entrepreneurs, as you guys know that, where you go like, yeah, like I'm going to start reaching out to like the chief risk officer or the head of like data modeling and go, there's a problem here. I'd love to be a part of the solution. Like here's research I've done and here's like XYZ. Is there anything I can do? Generally, that's always been my strategy. Like I'll just work for free. I'll do someone's job for free because I'll get it paid back at some point. And so like, yeah, they're all dealing with it. They're like, oh my God, like how do we write this? Now, in a big corporation, it's really hard to move, but like as a captive, you have this massive advantage compared to an independent, which is like, they definitely don't trust an independent over a captive. And they're going to go, okay. But again, to your point, it's not the same thing as sales. Like it's all about endurance. Like it's the reason I run 10 miles a day and I'm a very bad runner. It's just like, I've gotten very addicted to the feeling of wanting to vomit and feeling horrific because then you kind of understand like, yeah, that's how you get everything in life is just like grind.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm there with you on the working outside. Again, that's an ADHD thing. You got to feel it. You got to. It's funny too, because going way full circle, talk about the chaos thing. I didn't realize this until I had a son with ADHD, and the fact that
and a partner with ADHD.
Yeah, but we create our own drama, you know, and to the point of like us not working out. If we don't work out, we feel things differently. It like calms the rest of the world for the rest of the day. So putting in that 10 miles for you probably clears your head and makes you fire on crazy cylinders because of it.
You have to. I don't know. There's balance to everything. And like, if we're going to live the extreme lifestyle we're forced to with ADHD and being entrepreneurs, like you gotta have to find a extremism to balance it out. And there's very bad extremisms that like,
right.
Yeah, I mean, you can easily get into. And so again, probably not the healthiest thing I do. Like it definitely isn't. Like I just tore a labrum and like I constantly get shots and like I'm getting too old for it. But damn, does it like it I've never lived better. I've never been happier doing that.
Well, it's better than the drinking thing. I mean, you guys were telling some wild stories prior to the podcast. And,
yeah, I can't get into that.
And it's better than the alternative. I just got into lifting weights, and I used to hate it, just absolutely hate it. But to your point, man, like getting that point where you feel like you have to puke, you get used to it, and you're like, I tell my kids this. I said, because I have a bad back, I have a few discs that are like less than 50%. So like, there was a period of time that I was laid up for over a year and could barely move at too young of an age. And so like I tell them, dude, if I push my body and push it hard for an hour or an hour and a half a day, then the whole rest of the day I feel freaking great. Like I feel great because I had pushed. I felt so much pain, that polarization, that the rest of the day I feel awesome.
Yeah,
boosted some dopamine.
It is. There's also, I'm gonna call this the Taoism of the insane person that's Andrew, but like I tell most of our guys, like when you're in a startup, especially like a tech startup, everyone always thinks like, oh, like someone has the answers. It's the entire point of a startup. No one's done it before, and like no one has the answers. There is a couple of things you can always do that'll pretty much like guarantee success. One, always just go talk to like customers and like understand the problem. The other thing is look at exactly what you don't want to do and go do that thing. Maybe this is like an ADHD thing, but it's to your point, like, and I'm the same way with like lifting weights and
so
stuff
hard.
like that. And it's every single thing I've ever found. Okay, I don't want to sit here for 4 hours and read through the specimen documents on this ENS policy. Oh wait, I started to realize like, oh wait, that's how everyone feels. So if I'm the one person who does that, I can understand why the endorsement is structured the way it is and maybe talk to the carrier and like provide some feedback on like why the smoke could probably be mitigated and not like, sublimited to a mass amount. And every single time I've found some asymmetry or value, it's been in that exact thing, which is like, I really don't want to do that thing. Everything's driving against it. And that's the thing that keeps everyone else from doing it, which ironically raises its value if you figure it out and you end up doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you find yourself organizing your email folders, you go, okay, what am I hiding from right now? Right? Because this is not fun to do, but I must be choosing it because there's something that I perceive as worse that I need to do.
Right? Yeah, some sick irony about the world in that. But yeah, It's how you build muscle.
Yeah.
It's how you stay alive. It's how you make a business.
I'm really, you brought up reinsurance, and I just find that whole thing interesting. I just like a quick little TLDR on that experience.
Oh my God. Dude, that's not quick.
You can do a long TLDR.
I know, and shoot,
that just made the millennials hurt.
I have to jump in like 14 minutes, so I can get home in time. But I would love to do like more. But so reinsurance side, one, most insane industry you could ever imagine. It's all basically based out of Bermuda, an island that's like 60,000 people in 21 square kilometers.
Interesting.
London, and like, Munich and Swiss. It is a 600-year-old industry that basically had the greatest job on earth, which was, I'm going to be an investor. And here's my investment strategy, or an insurer. I basically am going to protect you against something I know is probably going to happen pretty confidently once every 10 years. When it does, I will pay out my claim, and then I'll raise my rates on you 300%, and I'll collect money for 9 years, and I'll have 2 renewal dates a year. I'll have 100 clients, and each of those clients will pay $50 million, $100 million like in premium each, and like Gucci. Now, there's a whole crazy back end of this. Obviously, there's a really good book on understanding like this side of it, called Against the Gods by Bernstein. It's called The Remarkable History of Risk. But so tangent, why Bermuda is the way it is. What was the main thing that made insurance big? Shipping. That's why Lloyd's is big. Shipping, and obviously horrible part of shipping humans, but also like goods, and Dutch East India Company. One of the biggest places that they shipped was the Americas. And if you look, Bermuda's actually not in the Caribbean. It's up here in North Carolina. So that was the place all these ships would stop partway through to check to see if they had a claim. And so you kind of had this like giant like center of insurance where now hundreds of billions runs through. And so that's kind of like background on it. Insurance at its core is a very simple premise. I'm going to distribute risk for things that are very infrequent and very severe, fat-tailed events. I'm going to spread those among much bigger balance sheets that are very much optimized for that return profile. And if I spread it out, we can all absorb these shocks as they happen. The reinsurance side, still very, very different than the insurance side. Extremely tight-knit community, and incredible. And I mean, the people you will meet on that side, like my old boss at Argo, this incredible guy named Matt Wilkin, he had a PhD in like quantum physics. Like one of the most brilliant humans I've ever met. Yeah, and he's like trading risk and like doing cat risk and stuff like that. And Ryan Mather, who was the other
easy
one, like,
stuff.
Yeah, genetics PhD. And so like incredible risk minds that are making these huge bets. I mean, like, you're wrong. You're going to lose $200-300 million of company's capital and potentially like sink it. And yeah, also this industry that's now facing this wild change, which is all these things we thought happened once every 10 years. They kind of happen once every 3. And the thing that we expect to happen, which is adapt to it and change the system, is not happening. So what can we do if we're 1,000 miles away on an island and that system's not being fixed up there? So it's very much like they are, people we talked to when I was in Lloyd's last week, like one third of the conversations were like reinsurers, because like you have to understand that whole stack, and an insurance company can't take that risk on the same way. And again, I'm probably getting too much into nuance, but like insurance companies' balance sheets are built to take frequent but very unsevere losses at a very high frequency. They can't take the loss of 5,000 homes at once. That's why they have to spread it out to 6 different reinsurance companies. And so if the reinsurance companies go, we can't cover that, the insurance company goes, we can't cover that. And if the state goes forced to cover it, they go, great, we're going to charge something more like we don't think we can't lose money, but still are, like, somehow. And yeah.
Which that's California, because they said you can't raise your rates.
And they have locked down rates, said you can't use now you can use like cap pricing. And to be clear, now there's like a lot of changes coming through. But again, I kind of look at it with a very, very like caveman view of, it doesn't matter how much you change the rates. If you have a wood structure that's sitting in a canyon that burns every 20 years, and you can look at a map and see it burn every 20 years, and the local fire chief tells you that place is going to burn in the next few years, and when it does, we will just tell everyone to evacuate because we're not going to commit suicide. We're not going to send in 20 guys to die. It is a tinderbox. Then what price do you charge on that for that $2 million home at times 100? You can't. No one can afford to pay that. So, but now if you look at it, now here's the crazy part. You look at it, you sit with the fire chief, sit with our partner at BurnBot and go, all right, how much would it cost to do a 10,000 acre fuel treatment every year? We take a robot, literally grind up every piece of dead vegetation, cut down excess trees, like remove dead fuel loads, make sure like water can reach this like easier, create a fire break. You go, oh my God, it's going to cost 10 million. You go, great. Like one, there's just an increase of $100 million in premium, and there's probably going to be a $6 billion loss off the back of that. So now again, sometimes it's crazy enough where you're like, no one's doing it. And so that's kind of the position we find ourselves in of like, great, we'll do it. Like we'll talk to literally fire chiefs, regulators, like whoever we need to and make it happen because system's got to get fixed.
Can't you make something out of all the materials that you grind up too? Like, I mean, it seems like you could even get some money back on the chewed up wood and all that. So make some IKEA stuff.
You absolutely could. Actually, the one that's like really interesting is biofuel. Being able to use this stuff. Now the issue is like all physics, like nothing comes for free. So you have to ship it somewhere. And so now you're talking about like, I have to use fuel in a truck that's in a 2-lane highway in Tahoe and get it out to Nevada and like ship it. So, but to your point, like that's all I ever, like Craig, is why we were friends, still friends. These things, you're like, how is no one like making money off of a bunch of free lumber? I just paid $7 for like another 2x4. Like I'm like, dude, how much more expensive could a 2x4 get?
It is insane.
We're grinding the things up and like pushing it into the dirt because it's like there's just too much of it.
They need a portable bio fuel creation system.
Well, amen. I think it goes to your point earlier. The infrastructure's built up so much. There's so many deals between so many different people that they have to get the wood from the same people that they've been getting a deal. You know what I mean? Like it's like there is so much of the way it is because that's the way we've done it for so long.
Right. Like they don't want it, right? They don't want the innovation because that's going to disrupt their industry and they have all the money. It's interesting, right? There's a lot of variables here.
It is.
I don't think we're going to solve it on this podcast episode.
No, but and I know Andrew has to go, and I want to make sure that he can tell everything he needs to about his company and how to get a hold of him and everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, right now we only work with commercial properties. You can reach out on our website, rocksure.com. But yeah, primarily we're obviously drinking from the fire hose for lack of a better word, but some exciting news about a funding round and expansion coming out. But yeah, I just love talking to anyone I love talking to agents still. I mean, those are some of my favorite people to still take calls with, like these agents who have been doing it for 30 years or, like farmers guys who have owned an HOA book that have like figured out their niche in the community, know so much about the product, such good people. And like, it's, I guess to like what you're saying, Craig, there's a system that like builds around it that creates a lot of like negative inertia, like that pushes against anything changing. And yet so many like individuals inside the system, you guys, like, again, anyone can create a podcast and like there's so few in this direct direction, but like, God, there's like millions of people who work in insurance, like, massive industry. And so, yeah, it's just like anyone who wants to, like, feel free to reach out. If you are a commercial property owner, HOAs, resorts, wineries, strip malls, hotels, we do every single aspect of that. 15 plus carriers that we work with from London, Bermuda, and the US. Pretty confident if you're willing to put in the work, like we can get you a much more reasonable policy again and actually do something to fix the system.
Boom.
Super cool. Love it, man. Appreciate you going the distance today. I know you're a busy dude and we've gone a while, man. So thank you so much.
So
Dude,
good to reconnect. I'll grab I think Emily has your number, so I'll reach out, man.
Yeah, man, don't be too hard to reach now that you're in San Diego, living the surfer life. Just
I only have a month left.
Jason, what part of California are you in?
Huntington Beach.
I used to surf Huntington Pier all the time, like in high school. That was like my. All right, so yeah, guys, we'll meet in person. I'm out in California literally every other week
Cool.
right now, so
I'd
love to.
Yeah, I'm like 2 blocks from Moonlight Beach right there.
Oh.
The stairs on D Street, they closed right before we got here. They still haven't finished them. I don't even know what they're doing. There's one guy like sanding it because it's structural.
Dude,
it's
get
not
down
safe
there.
structurally.
Let's go build your own. That's what
I said. I'm like, I bet you everybody in the area would go and hit hammers against it, whatever needs to be done. But no.
Where do you hang out down there, Craig?
Huh?
Where do
At
you
Moonlight
hang out
Beach. Moonlight Beach, or go to George's or.
All right,
or
so
Seaside.
if you're a crazy Craig fan, you know where to find him.
Yeah, you'll see me on my e-bike.
Well,
I got an e-bike, and I'll tell you, I know you got to go, but the e-bike is my favorite form of transportation that exists now.
I'm thinking of getting one. In my
It is. You do not understand. It is the most fun thing you could do, and it's faster. I got a rad bike, but now some girl passed me. I was going 25, and some girl passed me, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I ding, 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 and she came back, and I go, what the hell is that? And I'm like, how fast? And she goes, it goes about 35. And I'm like, oh man. But that might be where now you need, motorcycle license and all that kind of stuff. Like this, the best thing about the e-bike is the freedom, because you're kind of a pedestrian, you're kind of a car. So you can drive in the street, but then when it's pedestrians go, you can go also.
Oh
so,
God, you're that guy driving the e-bike 25 miles an hour, whistling.
Oh yeah. Somebody listening to this show, I cut in front of them, and they were probably not happy.
Oh man, yeah, don't get hit.
It is 100% get one, and I'll tell you, like, I went through the whole thing, so it's.
I've been looking at the highest S one. My wife made me sell my motorcycle, so I'm like, no, I thought the same thing as you. I was like, ooh, this looks dangerous.
For getting around here, I mean, if I get in my car and I try to drive somewhere, it's going to take me forever. So it's like you could go in the middle of the cars. It's fantastic.
And that's the pod.
Love it.